Karibuni sana. Thank you so much for joining into this particular webinar. For those who are new to this platform, my good name is Muthoni Njogu. I am the managing partner of Njogu and Associate Advocates. We are a corporate commercial law firm based in Nairobi. And over and above what we do as lawyers, we also have this wonderful and great platform where we're able to discuss matters, life, and law. So today I'm really excited. I have a great guest. If you've been working with us through this journey, you will realize that we have been talking about personal financial wellness. And I think, as I said, it would be remiss of us to talk about financial wellness, where to invest, how to invest, all the building strategies that you need for you to be financially stable, if we don't talk about black tax. I would say it's a component that we find a lot in our African setup, where we're helping our parents, we are helping our brothers or our siblings, or in the wider extended family. And it is important that we have this discussion and how it becomes maybe an obstacle, a burden or a blessing for you when you're trying to put your blocks together when it comes to matters personal finance. So I'm really happy. I'm joined by one Purity Kimotho. So I'm really happy. Purity Kimotho is a personal financial trainer. Not only is she a trainer in matters personal finance with FinFit Consultants, but she's also a director with Urban Drive. So Urban Drive is a motor vehicle showroom, not no showroom, but you'll correct me, Purity, and also the author of 2 wonderful books. And I'm hoping that she's going to share with us details towards the end of this particular session. Karibu sana, Purity.
So thank you very much, Muthoni. My name is Purity Kimotho. As Muthoni has said, I train at FinFit as a lead trainer, but that's not it. I learn businesses. I have a kayak on Kiambu Road called Urban Drive Autos. Urban Drive Autos is a fully fledged car dealership. We import and sell cars. And we also represent a Japanese exporter here called B-Forward. B-Forward exporter like SBT in Japan. So we are their agents in Kenya. So beside that, I also have a clothing line called Urban Stitches. So we make clothes, you know, the Rorashio and all those things that you hear about. So I've been in business for the past 12 years. And so I feel like I have enough to say about entrepreneurship. And that's why I train on financial fitness and entrepreneurship. My background is a bachelor's in business and management, accounting as a major, and I have an MBA in marketing from the University of Nairobi. And I also have a K from called the Certified Credit, Certified Credit Professional K. And I also have a COP for those who know about insurance and investments. So I come to you with authority. Only that today the things we are discussing is, black tax, which nobody wants to talk about, but it's something that we have to discuss so that we can go together. So I want to introduce black tax in very, very simple words. And it is the explicit or unsaid expectations to contribute financially to your parents, to your siblings, and the wider family, or even friends. It happens in a situation of perceived inequalities where one person looks like they're doing well than everybody else, or financial and social nature. So it's not just financial, there's also the social aspect of it. It expresses itself in different forms. Of course, there's a mental bit, there's a spiritual bit, there's a financial bit. So it's really a wide and complex topic to be discussing. Very, very important to note is that although black tax is mostly in financial form, it is actually about boundaries. So that is very, very important. And that's what I'll be talking about, black tax and boundaries today. Remember, talking about every time you mention black tax, people think you're stingy. But I want to tell you that it's actually not about being stingy. It is a way to help us help others in a better and structured way. So in real sense, it helps us create wealth at a personal level, country, and of course, as Africa. So remember, it's mostly an African problem. Black tax is not very common in the West. And so us discussing it is actually one step forward to make sure that we're actually creating a sustainable wealth. So we'll go right into it. We want to discuss the common forms of black tax in Kenya. I am very sure most likely you have heard about all of them, but you didn't think it was actually black tax. But let's go into it. Think about a sibling who has to drop out of school to take care of the younger ones. If you are older and your parents thought you were big enough, so you are forced to drop out of school to take care of your siblings, financially and in many ways. Of course, they would be baruas and manual jobs just to sustain their own siblings, and of course take care of their parents who are also able at that time. If you think about it, they were really young. So that is one form of a black tax that you might know about. Even now, it's still happening. If you go to places where education is not as important as growing up, we know children who have been forced to drop out of school and get married so that the parents can get cows. That is a form of black tax. Another way we know and experience black tax in Kenya is paying school fees for relatives, not from your own will, but as a duty. That we all understand. It's really simple. A third way I would like to discuss black tax is where you have to build or renovate your parents' houses, for example, on their own terms, and to their tastes. Supporting and maintaining parents monthly, including their social rights. You all know about chamas, where you have to send your mother money every month so that she can fit into the social status, Taking care of your siblings, kids, education, when your siblings are able and in health, they are strong and healthy, but you are the one paying school fees for their kids. There's black tax, like perpetually supporting, that sibling who is an alcoholic and then getting them jobs which they don't care to keep. So you're perpetually looking for jobs and then supporting even this drunkard, including actually paying for their rehabilitation. We all know about the people in the diaspora who keep sending money. And I want to tell you, those people really, really have sent money home. Then you send photos of your neighbors' houses to them as if it was actually a house you were doing for them. And when they come home after 10 years or 4 or 5, they really nothing. That is, it's a lottery, really. Having to take loans, so that you can take care of extended families, wants, especially, not needs, that is black tax. An interesting form of black tax that is happening in our generation, where parents have to house their grown-up kids. Someone is 30 years, 35, but they have refused to get out of their parents' house. They eat there, they don't pay rent, they don't pay electricity. They just stay there, even when they are earning. That is black tax against your parents. In this case, it's the parents paying black tax on your behalf. Very, very interesting. Then we all understand how you're just seated, minding your own business, and then you see that WhatsApp, join this WhatsApp, or you have been added, by force into which concerns financial contributions, especially for people you don't even know about. I know you get what I'm saying. Being added to WhatsApp groups where you're expected to give money, even for when you're not ready. Nobody is asking whether you're ready, or even the person, just that you're expected to give money. Another interesting one is where you're forced to pay dowry beyond your capacity. I mean, I know we are cultural and I don't want to trash culture, but imagine where you have to borrow, or you have to form a group pay dowry. I find that black tax from my own perspective. And another interesting one in this age of, having to keep up with the journeys, where kids, especially teenagers, will come and tell you as a parent, you need to take a certain according to the friends are going there, and you can't afford school fees. That is black tax. Your kids are the one controlling. That is black tax. Now you as a parent here are the payer. And the most annoying one is where you have to pay for people's lifestyle and trades. So let's say you have a smaller sister who want an iPhone, for example, and they want the latest, which is, let's say, 200,000. Yet, because they're in college, a 15,000 phone or even cheaper would do. So having to maintain people's lifestyle and trades is actually a form of paying black tax. And then a very, very interesting one I thought of adding where your spouse, let's take a wife, for example, forces you to move from where you're living and go live in a certain neighborhood so that you can measure up, So you have to live in an expensive house, even buy a car. I sell cars. Your spouse wants a specific car and you cannot afford. That is pure black tax. I know you have a whole list of things you can add that actually don't look like black tax, but they are actually black tax. But let's look at the good side of black tax. Some of us, or many of us, actually went to school because somebody else came and took, the burden of taking us to school, taking care of us until we finished. If someone came to you, let's say a sibling, and said, I have 20,000 I have saved or I have been working and now I want to start a business, but I need an extra 50,000, which I will refund. And then you help them. Then you're actually furthering wealth creation through what you would initially call black tax. What else does it do? It spurs economic growth because the money flows, in the economy. If you hold money or just keep your money in the bank, the economy does not grow. So helping your people who are, who are helpable, if I would call it, is actually a way of spurring economic growth. Then, of course, if you're paying black tax, you are accepted by the society. So there's the acceptance. Of course, your esteem is high. And so it promotes what I would say acceptance by the society. And finally, it can also promote family unity, because if a sibling is helping others, actually, it can bring you together. Now, the good side doesn't sound like a lot, but it's really a lot. All you need to do is amplify it. I will go down now to the bad side of black tax. I have quite a list of these. One of the things you will not even imagine is that it affects your mental health. How? If people have put certain, expectations of you and you feel you can't meet them, you will die with them alone, especially men. For us women, I think we have a way of just discussing things and let it out. But imagine a man who is a firstborn, the parents expect so much, the siblings expect so much, and the society as a whole. So it can actually affect your mental health negatively. The other thing is that it could mean actually that you're not saving and investing for your future. And nuclear family, which is your main responsibility, especially as a man. So let's say you have to do things for your parents that are not necessarily needs. I mean, they are so instead of putting money into saving for your future and your children who you may not have or you have, then you have to spend that bad. So if you're continually minding other people's business in terms of black tax, then it means that you're not able to create that generation wealth. Another thing is that it could lead to helplessness and desperation on the receiver and the payer, both sides. It can also lead to blocked mindsets where people are used to being helped until they're so blocked they can't see solutions because they know so and so will come in for us, will help us. So you'll find people in the village just living a good, soft life without worrying because there's someone else footing their bills. And then it can also lead to scarcity mindset. I don't need to expound on that because every time people are expecting you to help them, so they always think other people should, help them. Of course, it can also lead to entitlement out of that scarcity mindset because they think they can't save themselves out of this. In relation to this entitlement is crippling over independence. They are so used to being given until they are so over dependent on you. That's not a good thing, by the way. To make you feel good as a giver, but where someone is extremely dependent on you for money and they're not sick, that is not good. Of course, they could lead to ruined relationships. Think of a parent who keep telling you, you're not cooperating, you're not helping your siblings, you should do this for us, we did this for you, So it can it can actually lead to bad relationships between siblings, between parents, between relatives. I know you have a feel of this where someone asked you for money and when you couldn't give, they ended up making you an enemy. And then there's this exhausting request. Imagine someone, every time you see their call, they are looking for something from you. Really, deep inside, you're like, you're worth more than that. In relation to the same, think about someone who look at you as an ATM. We call them ATM relationships. So you ask yourself, am I lovable without money? So actually, are you lovable without money? Is money the only reason that people value you in your family, your friends? That is what black tax can do. It can make you feel like people just look at you as a card, an ATM card or M-Pesa for nowadays. And then there's the risk of being named stingy or disrespectful or a delinquent because you are not, complying to people's needs, for money all the time. Then there's the bit of anger, shame, and guilt, which is very closely related to what we said. It affects your mental health. When you can't deliver what people expect from you, you can easily get angry, or they can get angry at you. You as the giver would also have the shame and guilt that you're actually not able to do what people expect you to do. And then one very, very, very dangerous one, it can actually perpetuate a poverty. Think about when you give someone money and what do they do? That money, they go drink. I don't know whether you have been to the village and people keep asking you for money. And actually, they're only asking for this money to go have that cheap liquor. So when you keep giving that money, you're not helping those people. You're actually making yourself worse off and even them. So now that we have talked about the bad side of, black tax. So what do we do about this? It's real, it's here with us. What do we do? One of the things I would encourage us to do is to focus on paying forward. Think about your parents gave birth to you, your siblings, the bigger ones, maybe helped you, but you're not able to. Actually, there is nobody who can pay back. It do you good. It's not able to pay back. So my advice is focus on paying it forward. Pay forward instead of backward, because backward is almost impossible. And number two thing you can do to deal with black tax is to ensure your perceived help is not perpetuating poverty. Remember what we said. So instead of going to save someone who is in a hole and you end up falling in that hole, make sure you're pulling them to come closer to where you are instead of, lower. So ideally, what you give as help should actually uplift people, not degrade you in the first place, and also make them worse off. The number three way to deal with black tax is for you to know that being nice is overrated. If the only reason you give finances is because you want to be nice, I would highly recommend that you just be yourself. Because it's very, very hard to meet other people's expectation of you. Every person who know you, especially your family, expect you to be a certain personal truth. Refuse to be manipulated. The fourth way you can deal with black tax is giving sustainably. Because personal finance trainer, I recommend a 60-20-10-10 formula, whereby, especially for low income and middle income earners, not for the very rich and wealthy, for the people, the kawaida people. So use the 60% with whatever you do, education, rent, then 20% save and invest. If the formula is not cast on stone, you can actually, make your own. You can make your own that suits you. You can decide to save the 60%. You can decide to give the 20%. Just that, make it structured. Make it in a way that you know that this month I'll give. What you don't give, put it back to your savings and investments. Then very, very important, do not borrow or get into debt to give. I mean, if you're required to give, you can only give what you have. Don't give what you do not have. And one more thing that we may ignore is that you need to your feelings. What do you feel about black tax? Don't ignore those feelings. Process them, think about them, and then come up with a strategy. Very important. Now that I'm in business, I encourage you to provide your own business, literally. In this, I mean, invest your money. Don't leave money lying loosely. If you have a salary of 20,000, 100,000, budget for that money, allocate it appropriately. Because if you leave it lying loosely, I don't know how people know you have money. You'll always see a message in the evening. Please, uko na M-2K, M-Pesa, nitumie M-Pesa, nitakurudishia kesho. And we all know in Kenya, you'll hardly get your money back. So pay yourself first by investing your money, depending on how much you want to. One thing we need to know is that what you want for others is not what you want for them. I asked to my mother and why my siblings are complaining they don't have enough, don't want. Then I discovered, so I try showing them strategy. You can start this, you can sell bananas, you can sell this, the extra over and above your salary. But I realized it's not their thing. They're not interested. So sometimes actually what you want for people, and it's something that you have to admit, not exactly what they want for themselves. So just settle with that. Then do not pay for people's lifestyles and trends. If you can only afford to shop for your kids, even your own kids really, at Toy Market, go ahead and do it. If they're forcing you to go to, let's say, Woolworth, and that is not where you feel you should, don't do it. Just set and say, this is what I believe I'm able to do, and this is what I'll do. Then have honest money conversations. This is very uncomfortable, especially when you have to deal with your family. They can easily actually reject you for telling them to use their money wisely. But even so, have money conversations with especially the receivers of black tax, if in this case you're the payer. Educate your family on personal finance and investing. If you have no knowledge, get someone to come talk to you. It is okay to have someone talking to your family about family finances. You can even call a family gathering and invite a personal financial trainer or fitness coach to come talk to them about managing their own money. It will help you and help them. And since you cannot wish black tax away, you need to take action, because we say inaction is also a form of action. So if black tax hurts you, if it is disadvantages you, then it is in your best interest to just talk about black tax. So in short, do what needs to be done. We have talked about investing, and I like to put it that show up for your finances, show up for yourself. Sometimes people will not understand why you're doing the things you're doing, but even so, just show up. If you're helping, let's say you're paying education for someone, for a kid, or you're helping parents, just know, let's say, for example, you decide to take up to Form 1 because the parents could not afford, then you need to know how long are you helping this child. Otherwise, they might have just being over dependent on you. So in short, set deadlines when you're helping someone. And very, very important, demand for accountability, especially for the people in the diaspora. If you're sending money home every month, just know, what is this money going to do? What is it doing? What is it doing to your family? So go ahead and demand accountability. If you're paying school fees, ask for receipts. I told you this conversation is about black tax and boundaries. So for me, the ultimate is set boundaries, not just for people, but for yourself. For example, if you are earning 20,000 and you have decided to save 4,000 in a circle, if you can't keep boundaries to yourself, you can also not keep boundaries to other people. So boundaries are very, very important. They're important to you and they're important to other people. People will be uncomfortable when you set boundaries, but with time, they'll get used to it. So I have other 2 books. One is called Liquid Ways to Invest Your Money in Kenya. The other one is called 70 Realities and Rules of Running a Successful Business. So the liquid ways, why I wrote about the liquid ways is because I discovered, I live on Kiambu Road, where people have really invested in land, or actually not invested. They have a lot of land and they have a lot of what you would call, they are land rich, but they are very cash poor. So you'll find a Shosho who is invested 70, she's working, she even look malnutrition. She has no, she doesn't even have enough food, but she has properties worth 50 millions. So I discovered people have a lot of stored wealth in land, in buildings, but they really have no money to run their daily, things. No money for emergency, no money even to just buy the normal meds you need, and to do the things you have to do even if you're not old. So I have written about these liquid ways so that even as you invest in land in Nanyuki, Malindi, Kangudo Road, you also have money which you can easily convert actually to money. That's why I call them liquid ways, in a day, in 24 hours, in 48 hours, and that money can be able to help you. So that even if you borrow, come tell someone, I need 10,000, I'll return it in 2 days, you're going to liquidate your own asset. So that's why I wrote that book, just to help people to be a bit liquid, so that we are not, actually land is only very expensive in Kenya because we overvalue land, because we think you must have land, but it's not true. If you're looking for a house, you can actually live in a good house without owning it. And then the other money you actually invest in business or things that actually generate income for you every month. So that's the reason I have done the liquid ways to invest your money in Kenya. For the entrepreneurship book, the 70 Realities and Rules of Running a Business, I did it because when I left employment from Safaricom about 12 years ago, I was leaving to go raise my children, but of course I could not just stay like that. I need money. And because I had been trying to look for other jobs that I thought would give me at least 8 hours of work every day, and I couldn't get. Here I was working like 14, 16 hours a day. So I had to start a business. But the process of starting a business and running it, it has now been 12 years. It's not easy. So I discovered there's so much you do not know about the business world. And from what I have learned in the 12 years, I started selling earrings and bags. That was my initial business. And I started the car one when I was still doing the handbags. And by the time the car business peaked, it was about 5 years later. But remember, you still need to eat. Life has to keep moving. But now the lessons that I have learned learning business is what has made me write the 70 realities of and rules of running a successful business. So you can order from my number. You can also get them from a bookshop in town called Nuria. Nuria is in the Bazaar, 11th floor, suite 1105. So you'll find then you'll go there and find a guy and a lady who will give you my book. I sell the finance one at 1,000, the other one at 1,350.
As in, what would be the minimum steps that somebody is taking? Because it's very easy to say you need to have your boundaries. You need to say no. You need to do that. But when it comes to the actual action, then it's sort of, people start having these guilt, or as you say, pay forward as opposed to backwards. As in, what are the, like, if you were to give 3 minimum steps, what would that look like?
Yeah, Mudan, it's true. Setting boundaries is not easy. It's really, really small.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really huge, but I highly recommend that we start small. For example, let me give a typical example. Mm-hmm. If people call you and say it's Friday, hey, can we go eat out? Can we do bypass? Can we do all those places that people go to?
Yeah.
You can start by saying, sorry, I have other engagements. I'm not able to join in. That's okay. That you are lying, but you know very well you don't want to use that money for that.
Yeah.
And then another day you're asked out. You can actually tell someone, sorry, my eating out budget is actually over. I can't do this. So you see, you're moving from sorry, I can't join you for whatever it's on, and then now you have told them there's a budget. So they're like, even them, they'll be shocked because they're used to all this. You're the one who pays the bill. By the way, I forgot to say about paying bill. Pewa, kila mtu apewe kwa bill yangu. That is a form of black tax.
Yeah.
Even when you know at home, you know, your family is waiting for you and there are obligations you need to meet. So you start small, and then that time you'll even say, sorry, I will no longer be able to join you for this every Friday night out. You know, so it's a small step thing. But the most important thing I realized about black tax, actually the problem is not usually the receiver. The problem is usually the payer. Because someone came to you, said, nipatie 2K nitakurudishia, you give them 2K. The next time they came, give me 3K. And remember, they didn't return the 2K. Then you keep giving them and not asking. You did not even ask, how come you didn't pay me the other 2K? So the problem is actually with us, the black taxpayers. The problem is with us because we don't ask questions. I have a few kids myself who are not I actually started taking kids to school before I had my own. And even now they're still in school. So I took one today, baby care. Now she's in Form 4. Another one is in JKUAT 4th year. Another one is in a technical school. I have about 5 I'm supporting. But what I do, especially for those who have finished school, I tell them, now you need to go get a job. And now you can now finally move out of my house. But if you don't do that, you will hold that person. They'll keep depending on you for a very, very long time. And so it's not something we are saying it's easy. It's not easy, it's hard. And remember, like we said, black tax is not about being stingy. No, it's not. It's actually about giving and giving so that you help others to help themselves. So that is what black tax and discussions around black tax is about.
Wow, wonderful. So very few concise steps on how to go about it. Just starting to learn to say no.
So I'd like to appreciate the presentation that has been done. I think it's quite comprehensive. I appreciate that. Asante sana. I think mine is to just add to the voice with a small experience that I had with my cousin who believed that I need to give him money because I seem to be more successful. And how I ended up dealing out where I drew the line is one point he kept calling me over and over again, and I was in a meeting, a serious meeting, and I did not feel good. So I thought this has gone too far. I just called him and said, we'll have a conversation. I'll be giving you X amount of money on this particular date. Of course, initially thought I was joking because he was too used to me giving him all the time. And I see what the speaker is saying, that sometimes we are the problem. But after some time, we ended up respecting each other. He knew that it was that time and I will not give more. So he'd call me all sorts of things. There's a lorry coming in. That's when we have fresh water. I need fresh water for my children. Very emotive things. But I had the courage to say, look, it is 22nd and I'll give you X amount of money. Now where the discussion has ended is I've told him, now has given him notice that in the next, by the end of this year, I will now stop giving you this. So I just wanted to share that as an experience and to add to the wonderful presentation that has been made. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Kenan. I keep asking myself, Purity. I think some people seem to have a safety net. What about the rest of all of us?
A safety net is something we have to create because for example, we were buying sugar at how much was it, by the way, before it went to 2 something.
Yeah.
Where are we getting that extra money? Meaning the money was there, only that we did not deliberately put money aside. And that's why I like giving the 60 20 10 10 formula. Please keep money aside because life has to happen. And people are also tired of being told. I mean, I know very well you have a salary. I know you have a business that gives you a little money, not a lot.
Yeah.
But this thing of every perpetually asking for a niko vibaya, it's not sustainable. I mean, and it only happens in Africa, Lily. I mean, out there, you want money, you go borrow money in the bank. Now, nowadays we have Mshwari. If someone is really desperate, most of us, even a granny in the village, has a limit of 1,000. So if it's really an emergency, there's Mshwari. So stop treating other people's needs as emergencies because you are the only one who is treating them as emergency. And you yourself treat your emergencies as emergencies, but remember they will come. There's no emergency actually that is an emergency. An emergency will come, of course, other than the big things like diseases, which we all agree. And that's why I didn't mention about diseases because it's a big thing and we have to come in together and do it. But these other things, seriously, like now that person talking about water. I mean, so it's real and it's something we must, as Africans, purpose to do. You must put a little money aside for the bad day.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think Ken Onbai is a recovering black taxpayer.
Absolutely.
So we give kudos to him because he's in the process of recovery and out of the ward back home now.
How do you control your parents without appearing to be a bad child or a child who does not want blessings from parents, African homes? How do you control that?
The thing is that, like we said, we talked about boundaries area and we talked about setting a specific amount, which Kenan has also confirmed it's possible. Because you need to find out what exactly do you, like myself, I have, let's say a standing order to my mother, for example, every month. And I know it's enough. If she come and tell me she has a certain, I don't know, Women's Guild, a chama, I tell her, now, mom, that is actually not part of me. It's part of you. So the same money I give you, remove there and give them. So for parents, I know it can be very hard because you're feeling like you owe them a lot. And like we have said, let's stop paying backward. Let's pay forward. Find out what is this money you're giving them for. Some of the things we do for our parents, the truth is we cannot even afford for ourselves. And sometimes your mother or your father will come to your house and they want the exact life that you're living. And we all know that is not possible. So please sit them down. This conversation, I think, is the hardest, but it's most, very, very important. Sit down with explain to them why you will no longer be able to do the things as they ask. Have set a certain amount every month. That is what you'll be sending them as long as you have. And if you do not have, let them also know. If I don't have, I'll also not give you. So it's a conversation you have to have, very, very, very hard conversation, like I said. And I also mentioned actually getting financial fitness help for, because it's not just about them. And I have said finally when I was concluding that the issue of black tax, the biggest problem is actually the payer, not the receiver. I think sometimes we feel so good, you know the way you get home and in the villages and you're called Bazoo, you're called Noma. I think that could be some of the reasons we actually pay black tax, because it makes you feel good that you needed. The truth is that some of what you think is laugh from people that are very close to you is actually not love. Like we said, it's an ATM transaction. And there's nothing as bad as knowing that somebody is very, very transactional with you. If someone loves you, you want them to love you for who you are, not for what you give them or what you have.
Thank you so much, Purity, for coming through. Thank you so much to every participant who has stayed on to the very end of this webinar.